right, welcome back everyone to Nerdy Playbook. Happy Tuesday. Thank you all for watching. Before we get in today, we are unfortunately missing Dahlia. She is a little busy right now on a road trip with the rest of her convoy. So we'll probably have her next time, but I was given some certain instructions of what Dahlia will do. Please don't forget that we are still doing the Wounded Warrior Project for the next 9 days for the rest of the month. The link is at the bottom of the screen. Just go over to our symbol, click on that. They'll take you right to there. Every little bit helps to help out veterans trying to acclimate back to reality. And that, again, ends at the end of the month. If you miss out, we'll always be doing a new charity every month, so don't feel like you're missing out in case you miss this one. Star Wars is tomorrow. So if you're still hyped on some Ahsoka Tano, check out our Star Wars stream tomorrow. We'll be doing another episode of that. And if you missed out any of our new series, we did the World of Averant. So last week was our very own Stephania's Valerian that we did last week. So if you want to see some of the prequel stuff and kind of see how some of this started and some of the characters, we got that going on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Kick. That being said, let's go into the intro. Okay. So, last we were together, the group unfortunately did get separated. Gaju found himself more west from the rest of the group, randomly shifted due to unknown means. As quickly as Gaju found out about it, the rest of the group discovered Gaju was not there. But due to the link that Alasna has between Dahlia and Gaju, they're at least able to stay in communication as long as Dahlia is focused on it, which does not require too much fortitude. The rest of the group getting stalked by some of the Acrids, fighting them off, and then unfortunately, whether it was sound or something else, a large thud hit the ground floor beneath you, and most of you fell into this dark abyss of ice and very little light. As the rest of you decided to fall in, you notice that you fell into the large frozen lair of the ancient white dragon. And the luckily you were able to fend it off, but it seemed to have a little bit extra power than what normal dragons do. During this process, Gaju found the stone pillars that he's been seeing, being warned by a stranger. It's probably not smart to touch it. Naming himself as Anamakayan, and lets you know that he is a Eidolon, that he serves His Majesty, the Kayan family, and that he doesn't know why he's here. He just knows he's been shifting back and forth between the stones all over the realm. offers to follow you, maybe give you a hand, gives you an item that helps you give more direction to find the rest of the group. With last thing happening, you guys defeat the dragon. You're still stuck down in this underground lair with most of the exits frozen. But you're able to procure some items that were stuck inside the belly of the dragon. Legendary items of warriors, much like yourselves, that tried to fend off the creature, but did not succeed very well. So, we're going to actually start off with Gaju first. I was given instructions by Dahlia. By all intents and purposes, you'll always stay linked. So, assume that's still going on.
Okay.
So, Anima is staying not really close to you. Whether or not he maybe gets the vibe that just keep a distance, or less, maybe he just doesn't like to be close to people. He's kind of walking about 15 feet behind you, but he's keeping out of pace and kind of keeping quiet. But he does definitely have the vibe of maybe he's just not a talkative one.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever you want to do.
With tremor sense, can I feel him walking?
It's a good question. Yes.
Okay. I think Gaju's gonna be a little weirded out that he's walking behind him, but if the guy is gonna keep doing it, I guess he's just gonna put up with it.
He hasn't really said anything in anything at all. I think you probably assume that the reason why he's following you is more or less he gave you the ability to track your friends, not himself to track them. So that's why he's following you. You can assume.
Gotcha. Yeah, so now I had taken a rest in the area, and then we had started moving. So so what exactly is it that you used to do?
It's a bit complicated. There used to be a bunch of us. We kind of we're not really like total family by blood, but we kind of became family. Just friends and that just kind of bonded together, and we were granted a certain magic from our world, and we were supposed to protect that sort of magic, and kind of ended really quickly. There was a big attack that happened on our world, and we were forced to leave, and that's the last thing I really remember.
Sorry, I just read in notes. Your world. What did you call it?
Like, thinks about it for a second. Can't remember. Wait. No. The hell? I don't remember.
Is forgetting memories continuing for you?
Now that I think about it, probably. As he started to like look a little alarmed, he's just like, "Fuck! Wait, the hell?" And he starts like putting like it almost looks like you can tell he's putting pieces together of like, "Wait, how long has it been?" Like you can kind of see him, you can kind of hear him mumbling to himself. Wait, if I was there, and now I'm here. Wait, when did I go there? How? What? Oh God. And you can just see that like he's not freaking out, but he's like trying to do the math, and he just keeps like, like someone who just can't put the equation together.
Can I insight check him to see if he's lying to me?
You can. It's gonna be a bit of a curve since you don't really know much about him, but sure.
Insight. That was gonna be 17.
It's hard to tell. He does seriously look confused. It does look like he's grasping information, but you don't know him well enough to really know if he's lying or not. You can assume that, he's not telling you everything, but you've only known each other for a little bit, so he has no reason to really just unload what he remembers of his life story to you. You definitely know he's hiding stuff from you, whether it's on purpose or just like he's not going to tell you his whole life story, right off the bat. You can't tell.
Okay, so you don't remember exactly where you're from?
No. Okay, so
I'm being general.
I mean, I'm from a world where we had a bunch of different races. He kind of like lifts down his hood, and you can see that he's got higher ears, resembling, a high elf. And then he's like, I'm an elf. We had, races all over. I'm sure you have them too, but like looking around, this isn't like everything you got, right? There's more than just this dank, ugly place.
First of all, rude. But yes, there is more.
Well, that's something.
There's a lot more.
Did you stop when you talked to him, or are you like talking and walking?
Probably talking and walking, because Gaju doesn't want to waste too much time with a person he doesn't know, while still being stranded away from his group, knowing that they have been attacked by a dragon.
You could definitely tell like the difference between him and like a regular high elf is something that might be more of his Alandran racial descriptions. You can tell that like he's got tattoos that are kind of almost not even tattoos that are on his skin. It's almost like they're his blood veins that you can actually see flowing through his body that moves ever so slightly as his motion goes. And they naturally have kind of like a pinkish purplish hue that glows with them, along with actually connecting to his eyes, so his eyes naturally glow that hue. He also seems to be connected to his wardrobe, that like as his wardrobe actually moves, the glyphs on his wardrobe actually move with his body, and it matches kind of his same color tone. He kind of just describes to you, it's like it's hard for me to explain without really knowing what your world is like, but I wish I could tell you more. I don't remember. I mean, the most recent memories are me just jumbling back and forth between what I'm assuming is your realm, and going between different stones, flipping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and only having about, at best, a month at one location. But I'll be honest, that depending on where I was not too keen to go wander. And the one time I did, I went over and I headed to this town, and it's loud and noisy, and once I started freaking out, I just got pulled back to the stones that got warped to another place.
Is there ever anything certain that you do every time when it happens? Do you have some sort of goal you have to complete?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't. I just know Then my powers activate before and after the stones react to me. As he kind of like shows off his tattoos and like, it's like he's kind of explained like his body starts to glow when the stones start to activate.
What are you doing?
Oh no, I've kind of like hides him back in the cloak. I'm just showing you that my body, my powers react to whenever the stones do something, and then when it does, I kind of get like a warning. It's like, oh shit, and then I get pulled back to the stones, and it's not like an immediate like. It surprises me, like gives me like a 5-minute warning. I feel like every time I get pulled back, though, I get something as far as memories. I mean, the first time I was here, I knew nothing. Didn't know my name. Didn't know where I was from. I clearly don't know all that. But every time I kept pulling back and forth, I remembered bits and pieces. And then sometimes I see certain things, and then I remember a little bit more. But it's definitely slow going.
Unfortunately, I don't think I have anything that could help you.
I didn't think you would. No offense. I mean, it's just this is. I'm not expecting any help. I'm just figuring that maybe us putting our heads together, I help you find your friends, and then you all can help me try to find my way out of here, and maybe I can find my way to disconnect myself and figure this out. But my big goal right now is to make sure I just don't keep getting pulled back and tossed all over God's who knows where.
Oh, maybe the others will have ideas. I have no clue.
Well, I mean, if so, fantastic. If not, I'll at least help you out with what you can until until you guys are able to make it out, and then if we want, we can part ways, and then I'll figure it out from there. If anything, you at least let me follow, and that's still more than I expected from anything. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
After that, Gaju's gonna kind of go quiet and just keep walking through the caverns.
Keep trucking.
He's gonna maybe be a little more wary and like listening out for any other creatures or just any signs that one of the other creatures or acrids may be following them.
You can give me a perception check for the rest of the day to make sure that, like, if there's acrids around, you can at least be prepared.
Perception?
Correct.
That's a 7.
You assume once in a while that maybe one of them's following you, but you can never tell if it's just the echo of his footsteps. He's not very quiet. He tries to be, but he kind of stumbles once in a while. He's still kind of like acclimating to walking. So occasionally he kind of like bounces on the wall. He's trying to hang on. And you can never tell if like an acrid's in front of you or behind you. You're at that point in this area right now where a lot of sound can travel. And it's hard to kind of pinpoint if there is an acrid, and if there is one, where is it compared to you? Is it in front of you, behind you? Is it above you, creeping? You don't know. You can at least tell that within a 300-foot range, there's no acrid.
Just keep trucking.
Keep trucking. All right, so you can move yourself in any which direction, one intersection closer to the group. Theoretically, the smoke would tell you where to go, so whichever way you want to go, this smoke will lead you on. Okay. We will switch to the other group. So now with the frozen pieces of the dragon laying all over the place, weapons and armor laying on the ground, you have a few things at your disposal. Staffs, armors, necklaces. Things of warriors that just couldn't be absorbed by the dragon. Powerful enough where they were able to withstand. They're a little dirty. Obviously, they were inside of its body, but they can easily be cleaned and they're in well condition otherwise. However you want to differ them up is completely up to you. But in this area that you have, the ice layer itself, the ice layer itself looks like it was once upon a time a very old castle. Maybe even a really large keep. It's hard to tell. And whether it was sunk into this ground or ground was kind of pulled over it, you don't know the whole story. But around you yourself, you see a lot of busted up walls and doors, so much so that they're kind of collapsed in. As far as running around and trying to find an exit out, or at least look around the place, the group themselves can give me an investigation check.
Always fun. Oh, 18.
18 also.
22.
Woo!
Ren sits out the investigation check because they are patching themselves up and looking over this stuff to see what it does.
Okay. I'm also supposed to say that Dahlia would be healing people, but I'd assume you guys would get through a long rest before you'd leave. So
yeah, I assume
That's
we
good.
would probably try to
As
do that.
I remind myself how many hit points I have.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say that there are going to be no creatures down here, so if you guys want to take your long rest now, you absolutely can, so you don't forget about it later. You're not going to, no matter what roll you get, you're not going to deal with any creatures down here. The dragon was the only thing. So for the higher checks we got, walking around, for the 18s, you're able to notice that there are no direct doors on the level you're at, but you can see in this collapsed cavern, about halfway back up, there seems to be like a stairwell that broke halfway down, and it looks like if everybody can maybe find a way to get up halfway, you at least have stairs to get up the other half. But it looks like A, they lead you to a different portion, not the portion that was broken down for you, and B, it doesn't look like there's any other way to get out, with the exception of staffs, unless you have enough fire to burn through thick ice that's so thick a dragon can't pass through. For the, I believe, 22, searching around, you actually are able to find the dragon's hoard. With it, you're able to find a small fortune that is actually hidden behind one of the actual ice caverns that's kind of dug deep into the actual back. Within that fortune, you have several things. Someone will need to take notes.
I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Got it.
We're going to start off with platinum. There is 565 pieces of platinum.
Okay.
Just got to check off when you guys
We're not broke no more, guys.
I know, it's so exciting.
There is 1,200 pieces of gold. No copper, no silver. There are several items. There are 3 emeralds, 10 rubies.
10?
10.
Okay.
2 perfectly cut diamonds. And 1 broken diamond. There are several items. There is what looks like some kind of like, it kind of looks like a sultan's scepter, kind of like but it has like a dragon head on top, a couple eyes, and like every piece of it has some kind of stone in it. You basically have this gold scepter. It is roughly worth about 500 platinum pieces if you sell it to the right person. It does look like it have magical properties, but depending on if you want to take the time to research it, it's up to you. There are what
Ren
looks
has
like
3 spots for identify, so you can bring them whatever you want identified.
Okay.
There is what looks like a chest full of maps, until you take the time to look through them, you don't know what to necessarily relate to, but they're all in pristine condition. They're each rolled in what looks like a specific gold wrapping with a seal on it. The seal is not familiar to you. The last thing that you have is what looks like a specific sword. This thing actually is glowing within the gold. It actually has what looks like a silverish pearlescent glow to it. And very much like Excalibur in the stone, this thing's kind of jammed into the ground. Not magically, because you need to be worthy to pull it out, but you can pull it out. And it has some kind of runic markings written on it. For anybody here that can read Celestial.
For me.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Wait, let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I took Celestial. Yes.
If not, I did, although the reading will probably be halting.
I do know it.
It specifically says, for those who are worthy have right to access all planes. Again, other than that, you'll have to research it to understand the magical abilities of it. But that is what is all there in the Dragon Sword.
I'm gonna take that sword and the scepter over to Rin and ask them if they can take a look at it and see what it is.
Okay.
While she does that, before I forget, I am going to retrieve my gold crossbow bolt that missed the dragon.
Okay. So Ren, you're going to identify?
Yeah, Ren is sort of setting up camp and also has pulled all of the items out and cleaned them, wiped them off at least, so to evaluate them.
Okay.
And yeah, they will identify both.
Okay. The scepter first. The scepter itself made out of what looks like pure gold. The eyes of the dragon themselves have what looks like emeralds, but they actually have more of like a darker tone to them than the naturally rich green of an emerald. The mouth itself actually looks like it can open, but you don't understand how it opens. It's not like you can just drop the jaw. It looks like it activates by some kind of magical enchantment. But you can see like a little light coming from it, as if there looks like maybe a rubyish color within the jaw itself. You're able to identify it. The primary objective of holding this staff, it makes you immune to all status ailments. Can't be petrified, you can't be stunned, you can't be put to sleep by magical means, etc., etc. Once you research it further, you can actually find out that the item itself has 2 charges. When you expend the charge, you can actually take an actual, if there was a status effect that was afflicted to you that was immune, that you were immune to within 1 minute, you can actually reflect that status effect at any creature you can see within 60 feet of you. 2 charges. When you pay 1, the dragon opens up its mouth and actually casts it, using the dragon, not you. So, for example, if someone tried to petrify you, the dragon would absorb it, you spend the charge, and you can choose any creature. It doesn't have to be the one that actually tried to petrify you, and you can choose it to petrify them. Uses your own spell casting mod to cast it. The sword itself is called the Sword of the 10 Realms. The sword itself essentially works as a sort of teleportation circle. The wielder themselves has to be attuned to this. This actually takes 2 attunement slots instead of 1. I'll explain why. First off is a +6 longsword. This is probably the most powerful weapon ever made. So it is a +6 longsword with that deals an extra 2d12 radiant damage. If you've been to a plane of existence once before and you can remember it in your mind, you cast off any word that you've attuned to this. You can make up whatever word you want, and in an instant, you warp to that spot. Doesn't have to be, it can be on the realm that you're on, it can be a different realm. As long as you can physically stand there, you can't like warp into space or anything like that, but you can go to Shadowfell if you want to. If you've been to the Feywild, you can go to the last spot you're at the Feywild. You just had to have physically been there before, and you have to remember it. The last thing.
resemblance? Does this bear resemblance to the enchantment I've seen on Silic's weapon?
No, it doesn't. I mean, Silic's weapon isn't as unique as this. This is definitely one of a kind. This is the researching it. You don't really know the whole story, but you can assume based off of the way this blade is, this was not forged by just one person and by one magic. This looks like it's been forged by every kind of magic possible to forge a blade.
And I'm sorry, did you say it has a third feature? Yes,
it does have a third feature. So the last feature is that when you're actually fighting off a certain kind of creature, if a creature attacks you with a certain kind of ability, you can choose to become immune to that ability for the next hour. So, Fire Dragon, you can choose to become immune to fire for the next hour.
Does it seem to Ren like it has any limitations on who can wield it?
It does say whoever's worthy. You don't necessarily know what its qualifications for worthy is.
Ren doesn't think this is a blade of Bahamut, do they?
You can choose to give me either a religion check or an insight check on the blade.
Alrighty.
Do you say this out loud?
Yes. Ren will just say, "This is the single most valuable item I've ever held in my hands. Maybe anyone that I know has ever held in their hands. Are there alarm bells happening in your brain? Because I feel like out of anything we've ever encountered, this would be the thing." As I roll
Sure is something.
Can I focus on the ring I got from Malik?
Sure,
to see if it...
Sure. Ren?
My check, you said insight or what?
Or religion. And just let me know which one, because I'll give you a
religion?
different answer.
My insight I got 14, so
14.
not great.
Trying to research the blade even further, and you were specifically trying to figure out like the relation to the blades, or what? I forgot. You gotta remember the question. I forgot.
Just Ren kept like identifying it and getting all these waves of magic off it. Their thought was just, is this a blade of Bahamut? Because after everything, that's what they're looking for. It
definitely does not seem like it. You have no way to really like on your own. You have no way to truly test it. But what few things you know about the blades of Bahamut is that if for some reason the wielder dies, the blade itself, or at least the power of the blade, will pull itself and give itself to another person randomly. So unless the wielder's still alive somewhere and they decided to leave their blade behind, most likely this is not a blade of Bahamut. Sophia, you're using your ring?
Yes.
Nothing happens. Most likely this is not a blade of Bahamut.
No warning bells. I don't think it's a blade.
Well, I have no idea.
It couldn't be that easy.
No, and I have no idea which of us can wield this blade, but I guarantee you it's not me.
Now, this isn't like Mjolnir where you can't like pick it up. You all can still hold it. You just don't know if you can activate the power without being worthy.
It's the only thing I know about it. I explain what it does. This is incredibly powerful, but I do not know how a non-sentient item judges if someone is worthy or not.
What does that even mean?
Judging by the fact that it's written in the language of the gods, I'm going to guess it's arbitrary and related to their evaluation of someone's worth in some way or another. So, if someone would like to attempt to attune to it and see if they are let down by their supposed divinity or lack thereof, be my guest.
Oh.
Apollo will
used to being let down by God.
Apollo's gonna like walk by, and as he's walking by, because he's heading for the maps, he's just like, Probably give it to Dira and just keeps walking.
That was my thought as well, actually.
I guess I'll try. Sure.
Okay. So, Dira, you hold in your hand. It feels just like a regular blade. It does have
Not
specs
sword.
of it's both finesse and versatile. So you can definitely feel like you can use it off of either hand. It definitely has a light weight to it. You feel like you can either put in some strength to it or move very fast. You got a lot of options with this blade. Roll me a religion check.
Sure.
Excuse me, did you say this blade qualifies as a finesse weapon?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
It's fine, I don't have the attunement
That's
slot.
a spooky 20.
Spooky 20. Okay, so I got a question for you, Dira.
All right.
DM to player, more or less. Who is your current patron? Who is your current god that you worship?
The idea of Kokobiel as she's supposed to be.
Okay. As you practice with the blade, you cannot figure out how to get it to activate.
Well, it's a real nice sword, but I don't think it's for me.
You're able to try everything that you've learned as a paladin to attune to an item, maybe understand its specs. You feel like you've tried every option with it, whether it doesn't work with you or maybe there's something about it that just doesn't allow it to work with anyone. It's just not working. You can still operate it as a standard sword, but all of its magical proficiencies just doesn't seem to be operating for you.
Would it still be a +6 sword?
No.
Okay. Just
Nope.
don't
Just
attune to the
asking.
+6
Nope.
sword.
It would just be a long sword. It would still be considered a magical long sword, but it would just be a regular long sword that's just considered magical.
And I got one of those already.
Yeah.
So. Anybody else wants to try and be my guest? I apparently do not meet the definition of worthy.
I'll also say too that this item is considered indestructible, so it cannot be reforged.
I somehow doubt any of us meet its high demand. Sure.
We can try.
I mean-
You give it a shot.
By all means, hold it and see what happens.
Okay,
gonna-
who's passing it to who?
I am passing it to Zephinia.
Okay. Zephinia, roll me a d20. I just want to see what happens. here.
no. Oh no.
Hey. D20.
Why did I not have to roll d20? I'm not sad or anything.
Okay, it's not working.
It really doesn't like me.
12.
Tough. Okay. With the immediate moment that Dira, you pass over the hilt, Zephinia, you grab the hilt. At the one split second, you both are touching it. You both go into a quick snap. Doesn't stop time for anyone else, but you immediately get shown a vision. Some kind of battle's happening. This isn't the past. This is something in the future. You can tell this is plain as day. It's a Trinity War going on. A lot of things are happening. A major battle is currently underway. You can see what you can assume is the average soldiers, as many of them are wearing the garb that you used to wear. You see Nelitherians. You see what looks like the Heartwind Guild back at their prime. A lot of them wearing their colors, led by the Seraphini you saw when you're back over in the first town you had your mission in. But near this battle, it looks like it's nearing its ultimate climactic break. Then all of a sudden you see at the straight center a beam of light. Now, to both of you, in this, you're colorblind. You don't see the colors that are going on right now, other than knowing specific features of certain things that you just know that, no, Therians, you don't need to see the color green to know their kind of outfit. And you see this beam of light come in the direct center. And in response, about 90% of everybody decides to start fighting to bow to whatever this light is. Then you get pulled back from your vision. Zephinia, it just, by reaction, Dira, you let go. Sophia, you have it. For the mere second that you both were touching it, the power of the blade activated. But as soon as Dira, you let go, and Sophia, you have it now, the power of the blade just totally extinguished itself. Looks like
All right.
so you both have a little bit of something that might work together.
Did you see that?
I did. What was that?
There was a battle and a lot, and everybody seemed really interested in the lot all of a sudden.
What was that light?
I don't know.
Was it... Could you identify who was fighting?
It was
Everyone.
everyone, Everett and Nelithir and Heartwind seemed like they'd come back, and Seraphina was leading them, but
So this
they all
was
stopped when this light started right in the center of the battle.
a battle from the past, then?
I don't think so.
DM, does
not
this sound like any
sure.
historical battle from her time at all that I've ever heard about?
I mean, you definitely know this isn't a battle that has already happened. This is definitely something that will happen eventually. But since it hasn't happened yet, you don't know anything about it.
So it
Feels
does
like
seem like it's future.
Not
Yeah, it's
happening
very
yet.
much something. I mean, you both can tell, both Sophia and Dira are able to tell without anybody talking to you. It was completely soundless vision that you saw, that whether or not you would just know this based on intuition or just your own knowledge base, that this is something that will eventually happen. Nothing will change the fact that it'll happen, but events in it will change. But this will always happen.
I don't know what's going on with all the soothsaying lately, but
You, me
Seems-
both.
to be following us around. Now there's only, what, 4 of us? 3? 2? Who haven't had a vision of the future, and I'd like to keep it that way, personally.
Really not that much fun.
It really is
No.
not.
This thing, and I
But
hold
it
up
might be
the
useful.
scepter.
Mhm.
If you don't mind keeping your one hand consistently occupied, it does some pretty amazing things as well. Also, it's very fucking heavy. And what it does was like my hand plus mage hand holding it up.
Also, FYI, 2 things that are kind of the drawback of the scepter. The scepter itself is not a quarterstaff; it is a scepter, so it can be used as like essentially its strength if used as a weapon is essentially just kind of like a very light mace. Otherwise, it is not technically a weapon, and for its abilities to work, you have to actually be holding it. You can't just have it on your person.
So this sounds like a when the situation calls for it type item, or a caster who doesn't wield any weapons and doesn't mind using all of their somatic components through one hand.
Thank you for saying that. I forgot. It can be used as an arcane focus. Thank you. Yes.
Ah. Well, it definitely ought to go to a caster.
As I'm still holding the sword, I'm going to walk over to Rin and just hold it out to see if they will grab it.
Okay.
Right.
You know you want to try.
It's the
You know you
curiosity.
wanna.
It's the curiosity only. Let me set that record straight. And they'd reach out and grab it.
Nothing
I
happens.
don't let go at first.
Nothing
Okay.
happens.
I told you. Some of us are just not destined for that sort of thing.
Sometimes I think you might be better off that way.
I don't disagree. Well, that leaves
Anyhow,
3
what's the rest of this stuff?
apparently a fuck ton of money.
Oh my goodness. I guess we
All
ain't
like
broke no
healing
more.
potions we can buy.
I feel like I kind of owe you guys a lot. You guys haven't made any money this whole campaign.
Well, that's our choices. We keep skipping out on the paying jobs.
Are we splitting this up between everyone? Because I don't think I've ever had.
I'm going to start passing through. I think I messaged everybody. Everybody gets 94 platinum. One person gets
Holy
95.
Fuck.
And then everybody gets 200 gold each.
94 platinum and 200 gold. Good.
I'll say just to
lord.
make it fair, I don't want to have anybody feel left out. You guys can all just pick 95 platinum. That's fine. We can just round
Alright,
up and give
thank
away
you.
95 platinum.
The most
And-
money Apollo's ever had.
Times 100. Does anyone want to hold on to these gems? Might be useful for Dahlia to have.
I'd probably say
The
Dahlia would
diamond.
want the diamonds just
Mhm.
for her revivify.
Yeah. I also have Revivify. Do I have it prepared? I think I had it. I did prepare it because we didn't know what we were going to run into down here, so
Sure.
I can carry one.
And if anyone has greater restoration, this damaged diamond could probably be reduced to the components for that as well.
I think that would be Dahlia.
I think so, yeah. Let me pull up her character sheet.
Well, she could prepare it, even if she doesn't have it now.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Which
never mind.
I don't think I do, so she is the correct candidate for that.
Are the rubies needed? I'm going to look over at Apollo and Dahlia. Is
I don't
that,
think I
is
have
that
anything
something
that
you
calls
guys
for
can
them.
use?
I don't know. He's like nose deep in the chest of like scrolls, just kind of like thumbing through them.
And if you want to go through the maps, you can give me an investigation check. Add your intelligence mod to it, just because this is something that might be down your wheelhouse.
Investigation already does.
It's more money than I've ever seen in one place. It's
I have
crazy.
proficiency in it. Can I help him and give him advantage?
Sure. Yeah, roll again. Hello.
14, so 16.
16. Going through these, there's a total of 20. All in one chest. Like I said, they're all in pristine quality. Some of them, maybe the edges are a little bit ripped, but that's not a common even for like good maps. If you choose to look through them, first off, you notice the chest itself is enchanted. The chest itself seems to have some kind of ability that whatever stays inside does not age with time. It looks like time stops within the chest. The specific maps themselves specifically look like... It essentially looks like the aberrant map for your specific realm, not just like the continent, but the whole realm itself. But it looks like in each map, it's a shifting of time. The location of continents changes, but it's very detailed. The way you know of time change is the fact that it's so detailed, there's actually cities and towns labeled on it. And you can tell based off your knowledge, it's like, wait, these towns weren't here yet, so this must have been like 50 years ago and so forth. And it looks like each map is a shifting of 50 years, going back probably about 200 years. But two of the maps that really grab your attention are of areas that haven't existed yet. Maybe a map that actually foretells something in the future. You assume that one map is something that happens during the 50th year, and something that happens in the 100th year of your age.
Okay. All right. So he would he'll kind of like look over her shoulder to run, because I'm assuming that they're there because they're helping, and be like, well, I mean, first and foremost, this chest, I don't know if we'll be able to remove it, but things don't appear to age in it. So good for storing meat, I suppose. But
so many
the map-
pocket pancakes.
Yeah, all of them. Cooked, uncooked, you name it. So yeah, the maps, they go back 500 years, about 50-year increments, showing different towns, position of continents. But these two, kind of hold them up. It'll be like possibly show things that are coming, maybe in the next 50 to 100 years. Or time.
Let me see that. And Ren wants to look over that map and see what territories belong to who.
And FYI, when I say 50 years, it's not exact. It's like 50 years, give or take like 10 years. It's not like exact, like every 50th year, this is exactly what happens. It's kind of like a give or take some years, but always on a 50-year interval. Okay,
yeah, Ren's going to evaluate and see what names change, what territory lines have changed, and try to get an idea of who the fuck wins.
So, already kind of like based it off of his, you can tell that the specific territories that change in the 50th year are not really that much. It does look like, based off of land, it definitely looks like at that point in the 50th year, Averant and its kingdom and its borders has far stretched out. And on this map, it actually looks like different nations are actually organized by specific symbols. Kind of like if you're playing Risk and you kind of have different like markers down of where everybody is, and it's kind of marking down that at this point, Averant's kind of at their highest point. It's at the pinnacle of their greatness. The specific things that stand out to you, though, is also at this point, it looks like there are certain symbols that are on other maps that show like locations of where a lot of temples are for specific gods, like labeling this is a temple for, for Kukulpiel. This is the temple for, Fedona, so on and so forth. Normally right now on these maps, there's a lot of locations for Alasna. You notice on the first map you see, Alasna's temples don't exist anywhere on this map. They're totally gone.
The 50-year one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
You also see that there are no temples left for Gladlin. If you look at the one that is specifically supposed to be the next 50-ish years, the map itself looks sort of incomplete, as if maybe it's still writing itself or drawing itself in sorts. But you can definitely see that in the center, basically Solgaria is gone. There is like a crater that's the size of a nation in the center. And this isn't like saying like it's just a black dot that's incomplete. It's like there's a hole in the world. And it literally has shifted all continents apart. Heartwind looks now complete. They are now at their fullest scale, and they're back complete. Nelithir is fully pulled back into their kingdom, and it looks like everything that was shown as Averant's prominence is now back in the Aegis continent. It looks like everybody's pulled back into their own continent, but it doesn't show what this is. But it is. Let me switch over to the realm map so I can kind of explain to you what I'm talking about. So right where Solgaria is, there is. Can I draw it on here? There's a giant hole. And it's completely black. Based off of what you can tell with this map, it doesn't look like maybe this section is incomplete. It looks like the fate of whatever is in this part of the realm has been undetermined. But right now it's being marked as kind of like a crater, an empty space, a void of life. But again, you don't know if this is necessarily the 100th year or if this is something soon after the 50th year, because it's still completing itself. It could be the 70th year. You just know it's after the 50th.
Does this map, like Ren is poring over the differences between these. Like one, their hands have it spread out on the ground, and then Mage Hand is holding the other one open, and they're like comparing. And they look very stressed out. What?
Give me a perception check then. Give me a perception check.
Yeah.
See if you can find any minute details.
That's gonna be 19.
19. So, there's a couple things you notice that have had a drastic change that you didn't notice due to them not being a prominent source on the map. These smaller continents. We're going to start off with the southeast, which is Khalid. Khalid is gone. It does not exist on that map. There's no islands. There is no... If you didn't see the map, you just assume that there was nothing there to begin with. Khalid is just gone. The north...
And player to DM, although Ren doesn't know this, that's where Gaju was told stuff was going to shake out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that at all.
Nothing
all right,
wrong
and
with it. We're fine. Northwest, the Abris Kingdom. It is destroyed. Now, this one is different. It's not like it's an abscess. You can see that the land is broken up into many little parts. Most likely the land is destroyed. But most people know that Abris, their power is at the depths of the waters. The map does not show the depths of the waters, so you have no idea if it's actually the whole kingdom is destroyed or just their land is destroyed. Abris themselves only has a small island, roughly the size of Solgaria, that is meant for guests, people who want to live there but aren't given the right to actually live with the royals. And it is kind of like their business/council area and way for them to meet with people that can't live in the underwaters due to pressure. And that is destroyed. But the map does not show anything that differs of information for the actual kingdom at large. The last two things, one is at the far south of the Heartwind Kingdom, there is always what's called the Dark Veil. It is an abscess of energy that is its own pocket dimension. That itself is no longer a pocket dimension. It is now just an empty space that is just unoccupied space in the Heartwind Kingdom.
So it just looks like regular land.
Just what looks like regular land. Finally.
Oh, go ahead.
Finally, far north in Alkadai, there is a large kingdom that takes up the whole north side of Alkadai. It is unnamed of what it is, but since you were just in this location that the map is on, based off the size of it, it would actually encumber from... Oh, that's not what I want. It would take from Argstad Mountains all the way up to Krinsten Hollow. And
it's not marked for any nation at all.
No, it is unmarked. It does not have any kind of symbols or names on it that tells you what it is, who owns it, or what nation it belongs to.
And lastly, do any of these maps, not the chest itself, seem magical in nature?
They
or just mundane?
All seem magical in nature.
Use my last spell slot to identify this map.
Okay. So the way the map is it's almost like it draws itself. It's not a sentient object, but it's almost like it takes in all the information of your realm itself. And every time something happens, it reads not necessarily fate, but what it assumes is the future. And it starts predicting things. Based on the way that you guys can see all the other maps, it's pretty good at what it does. All the other maps are almost exact to their dates. So you assume that it just takes information that is given to it from what it knows around and it starts filling in pieces. So what you assume are the pieces that are already filled in are stuff that it knows will happen. As far as stuff that's missing, as far as the black void in the center, it's something that it cannot compute. But much like a quill that draws its own story, this is a map that essentially writes its own future.
And so I'm assuming I get a bunch of divination magic off this thing.
Essentially.
So it looks like the other map that's the 50 years is done. Like its enchantment is complete.
Its enchantment is almost complete. It looks like there's certain spots that have no color to them, indicating it doesn't know necessarily who won in certain situations.
but it looks like overall Aberrant is
As
huge
far
and-
as it at least shows you everything on it. There's no missing spaces. There's just certain spots that haven't been filled in as far as colors, so you don't necessarily know. You can't tell the future perfectly with it, but at least it is finished. Yeah.
Doesn't look good for polytheism in the next 50 years. That's certainly the case.
What's that mean?
Can I... Well, this... I'm not really sure anyone should look at these, but I am not in the interest of keeping people's destinies secret, so here you have it. These ones are enchanted maps that are complete. And someone, sometime, created a divination type enchantment to create maps based on the movement of the peoples within the different nations around us. None of these was drawn after the establishment of these areas. They were all done before, so they are close but not perfect. They are mostly right, but the ones that worry me is this one, and I point out all the things that Joe described, and I'm just like, the problem is this one is done for the most part, and I don't see any temples to Alazna or Gorkobiel, and the entire map is stained with Aberrant. And that is not exactly
Where's
the
the-
most...
Polly, what's this you're talking about?
Oh, I just meant there don't seem to be many gods being worshipped in 50
Oh, well,
years
that
from
ain't
now.
good.
No! Well, to some, sure, but...
To be
Considering-
more specific, just to make sure I got it out right, there are gods that are being worshipped, but there's not a lot of large gods being worshipped. It's a lot of the more smaller new gods that are being worshipped that you can see. Gladland, Kokopiel, Alazna are considered greater gods. Those ones look like they're a miss.
That's curious. Don't you think?
I was going to look at the map for a 2nd
Mhm.
and like as you said, there's like temple symbols, correct?
Yeah, there's symbol. The reason why you can tell that they're temples is specifically because they have symbols of the gods in them. So, based off of specific checks, since both of you got good checks, you could assume, based off what you know of other locations, a symbol of them related 1 + 2 = these are temples for specific gods.
Is there any symbols that are reminiscent of a like one-winged god? There's the smile.
There is. There is a temple for. Let me pull up their name. Where'd it go? Where the fuck? Oh shit! Why do I have so many notes? Here we go. It is not who you think it is. Her name is Exia. It is the goddess of shadows. But there's no other one that answers the question that you want to hear.
I actually wanted to hear. I was just curious.
No. So there is, if you are specifically looking, there is nothing there that actually proves the answer to the question you're asking.
If any of them are related to Zavinia.
Correct.
Unless she changed her name.
Again.
Quick, Zavinia, if you're going to change your name, what do you think? What would it be?
So...
If you both are looking at it, both Ren and Apollo, you guys can either both give me a religion check, or one of you can give me a religion check for advantage. Try to see if you can kind of compare notes to maybe if there's specific newer gods that weren't there before.
How's your religion, sorcerer?
0.
Well, I'm +2, so let's roll separately.
I could just help you.
I mean, sure. All right.
All right, then Ren, you can give me advantage.
All right. Not that bad. 17.
Okay, so there is a total of 3 new symbols that are on here. One specifically, and again, when you're looking at these, they don't say the names. You can just tell the symbols. So one of them is essentially, it looks like essentially the same symbol that most of them have on their necklace, but it's black. Or their piece of armor. Something that a lot of your teammates have a similarity in, but it's a black symbol instead of the normal silver or gold. Another one is one that does not have color on it yet, determining that fate has not decided what will turn out with this one. But this one looks very similar to the last one you just saw, but it looks more kind of like a symbol for a warrior. It shows 2 wings on each side, but instead of it being this kind of more diagonal symbol, it's a circular symbol with the wings aimed out more in a X fashion, and it shows what looks like maybe a sword. It's hard to tell. I can just see some of you pondering. And then the last one specifically looks more than one. It looks like it's like a symbol in a symbol in a symbol. It is specifically crimson on the outside. It is sapphire in the middle. I gotta remember the actual last one. Fuck, this is very important. Magenta in the center. And those are the 3 that you see.
I'm having multiple feelings about this map. Is that the 100-year map or the 50-year map?
100.
I have no understanding of how this enchantment works, so the method by which it predetermines what it thinks the future looks like is woolly at best. However, it doesn't seem to be very wrong if my history lessons have taught me anything. Therefore, I don't want to say I suddenly feel bleak about the future of our endeavors, because give or take 50 years from now, Everent is more powerful than ever. Not exactly what you want to see.
Still drawn? Can it still change?
Well, the one that's 100 years from now looks more promising, but depending on the longevity of your race, you may not live to see it. But
The realization that Tyr is human and will age like a human.
As we all just look at her going, oh.
You're not the only one, dear. Half-elves don't live that long. But
a bit longer, but don't matter.
It depends on your version of victory, I suppose. If you wish to see it with your own hands, well, we might be sorely out of luck. But that doesn't mean that the actions that we take now do not create the future, which will eventually finish on this 100-year map.
I'm trying to remember.
Just is disheartening.
That's how the future always works.
Gaju kind of told us about the whole like future stuff and like it can change though.
I think Gaju told you some of it, but not all of it.
But enough that like
He told us like some stuff is set, but how it happens can change.
So to remember, Gaju, I believe you told him the essential idea, but not the details of within.
Probably,
Yeah, because I don't
No,
remember you actually
Gaju,
explaining to
vague.
them. You might have
Yeah.
explained it to Dahlia,
Yeah,
but maybe not the rest of the
didn't
group.
tell. Yeah, he didn't tell like the whole details,
Yeah.
but he did say the salient point that there are things that can't be changed, but how they happen can
Yeah.
change.
So the major thing is that events can't change; they're locked into place, but the details that lead into the events can change. People that created the events can change, but the event itself will always happen.
Fixed points in history.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't quite know what to make of it yet. And if my interpretation of the enchantment is correct, this one will continue to change over time. Whether it will change rapidly or slowly, I plan to keep a very close eye on, if that's all right with all of you.
Trust your eyes for that, for sure. Well, man, about
Someone
this
could-
rest of the stuff we pulled out of the dragon. What are we doing with all of this?
Good question. Some of it is useful for some of you, but not others. My question remains for this chest, though, is who kept it here and why?
Maybe whoever this castle belonged to.
Do we know who this castle belonged to, DM?
Due to the age, even with some of the greater investigation checks, there is nothing left that is discernible to tell how this castle is. There's no artwork left. There's no symbols. It's, at least from the inside, you can't discern anything about this castle other than the structure looks like a castle.
I mean, if they're magic and they're made to tell the future, and most of them are from the past.
Well, this chest preserves things perfectly, so these maps could be, for all we know, thousands of years old, and someone enchanted them then, and they've been writing themselves ever since, but there's no way to date them. So the castle itself would be the best clue, but it doesn't appear, at least from the Dragon's Lair or the catacombs that we've been adventuring through, any sign of the provenance.
I'd say
Of
with
the
the current
castle.
discussion, with looking at the chest, first off, the chest is extremely heavy. It probably was never moved because no one could actually move it. It's not hard to move it, but moving it out of this place is going to be a task. Probably about a good 1,000 and change of pounds, even with it being empty. There is a symbol on it, specifically on the lock, even though it wasn't locked. The symbol of it specifically is something that none of you have seen before, guaranteed. The symbol of it specifically looks like it is a circle, staff inside, bottom hitting the actual bottom of the circle, top looking like an orb, and then has a symbol of wisdom on it. Specifically, like the Japanese symbol for wisdom on it.
Ren draws this in their notebook that they take notes in occasionally. I'm not sure we can get this thing out of here, but we can certainly take all of the maps and keep them safe.
That makes the most
But
sense.
I have... Keep your eyes out for any sort of markings or symbols as we travel through here. I think more important than ever to try and collect as much information as possible on where these came from and why they were created in the first place.
Before we leave this chest here, and do you want to just double check it? I know in stories there's sometimes fake bottoms in chests and whatnot.
Absolutely. Of course, I would be happy to check. I cannot identify the chest, so I cannot check, but I can use these, and I pull my hands out, and then there's one extra hand for my
Okay.
mage hand.
Go ahead and give me an investigation check to check for any kind of, hidden compartments.
Is someone helping me?
I can help. I'm not
Okay,
great at it.
so you can have it assisted. Yep.
I'm going to first check it for traps.
Okay.
And thank God for that, because one of them was a natural one, and I've died that way before.
Wizard.
It's not a joke. But with my assistance, that makes it an 18 to investigate.
So As your first check for traps, you are alarmed to find out that there's already been a trap activated. When you started taking out all the maps with the last one taken out, some kind of function magically activated with the actual chest. You don't know what it's actually been doing, but there's been something that has gone off. You haven't seen anything, but something already happened. The trap's already been activated.
Faster.
Okay. You don't see anything, but that was the only trap that's inside.
Okay. Do an additional roll for finding something hidden?
Yeah, investigation, please.
That's going to be a 19.
19. Feeling around the seams. Coming a little
I
bit.
do not say anything to anyone about the trap already going off.
Okay.
Working as fast as I can.
Much like the bottom slit of a drawer, you're able to find kind of like this little spot. You're able to kind of lift it, shift it, as if there is this bottom panel. The bottom panel has itself a scroll that is flattened. So that it's not bound up as a one-time only scroll. And you can definitely tell it's safe to take out. The scroll itself is actually quite long. It looks like it would take probably about a good minute to read the whole thing. But it is definitely a summoning scroll. Specifically to summon someone specific. The person, since I know you speak Celestial, 1 second, pull them up.
I swear to God, if one girl drops her numbers again.
Hey, girl, hey.
Yo, what up, girl?
I'm trying to reach you.
I told
at your
you
warranty.
to call me.
Where?
Week. Why don't you call?
Oh, come on. Maybe I didn't think you guys were going to find it. Okay. It is specifically for someone named Nerine, Nerine, the goddess of wisdom. Looks like it's a one-time only, and you can tell based off of reading it, she can choose to not respond, but this is a way to communicate.
Good call, Apollo. I just roll it up really quickly. Now, if everyone could move back from the chest, I could take all of the scrolls out as I'm backing up. Let's say 200 yards minimum. I don't mean to alarm you, but it's going to do something.
Just curious. I mean, I know Gaju's not here, so I can answer that question. For the rest of the group here, does anybody have a resistance to being put asleep?
I
Fuck.
believe so.
Yes, I am a half elf. Magic can't
You
put
have
me to sleep.
Okay,
Yep.
Is this
Okay.
a spell?
I'm immune
It's
to
not a
charm
spell.
effect, but that's not the same.
it's not a spell, but you would have to. It's just the same thing as Ren just said. You just have to have. It has to specifically say on your resistances, resistance against magic that would put you to sleep.
Yep.
Okay.
Which I do not.
So, Ren, as you start backing up, the power of the spell, power of the effect is so powerful. None of you actually make checks. Ren, you pull yourself back, and as soon as you start saying that, everybody just starts dropping, falling asleep.
Shit.
At this
I check
point,
everyone's
as you pull
vitals.
back, the chest actually shuts and locks itself.
But I got all the stuff out.
You got everything out. It looks like it's a defense mechanism to try to get somebody in advance from taking all this stuff, but it had a delayed effect, maybe due to age or something like that, but you're able to get everything out.
Does it look like everyone's asleep? Do I recognize that it's sleep?
Some of them might be snoring. I mean, it looks pretty obvious that they're put asleep. Yeah, it's...
All right, they're not dead. That's...
And I'd say you can
Good.
easily assume that the only reason why you weren't affected is it is a sleep effect. So, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Soaring Flame Train. Well, I guess it's bedtime.
We'll finish distributing stuff in the
You guys
morning.
can all have your long rest.
Is Treya... Wait, Treya's a half-elf.
Oh yeah, Treya's fine. Yep, Treya's fine.
Treya's fine.
Yep, Treya's fine. Oh wait, no, Treya is a she is a half elf, but
She's half elf.
she's half elf, right?
But
yeah,
she's weird.
Yeah, she's
Well,
a
weird.
different
We
kind of
don't
half elf. She
Are
is
drow resistant to sleep effects? Is Dahlia still up?
let me check, because Dahlia is a specific kind of half elf, and I think due to her specific mixed breed, she's might be put to sleep.
Yeah, I think most of her stuff is
she's
tiefling.
drow.
She's
so-
mostly tief. Yeah, she's more tiefling, less drow, so she does not have the resistance against magical effects to put asleep. So she is asleep. But Treya's up.
I just look at Treya and I'm like, well, the box was cursed with a sleep spell, and you and I are immune. Congratulations. Being a half elf is sometimes useful.
Yeah, but I'm tired. I'm just.
I mean, I am a whisper away from death at this very moment, so I'm also fine with sleeping, but someone should probably stay awake for a while and make sure, they're not sleeping the sleep of the ages, or that they never wake up again.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, we're both awake, so we might as well just hang out.
Why don't you sleep? And then that way, if they don't wake up, you and I can swap back and forth.
Like, without a second, like, she doesn't even bother, pushing it. She just immediately turns into like a little cat, and then she goes, finds a spot, she just, curls up in a corner, and then she just, all right, cool. And then just goes up in a ball and goes to sleep right away. Doesn't even bother fighting it.
Ren will gather up all of the maps together and roll them up and put them in. I'm assuming there was a map case or scroll case or something.
No.
Nothing like that? All
They
right.
just had golden bindings around them.
Cool. Ren's gonna roll them all up and then wrap them up in a coat or something that they have and put them in a bag.
Okay, just
And
remember that
then-
there are 20 of them.
Yep.
Okay.
That's cool. We're gonna roll them all up together in one big...
Did we have a bag of holding in the group?
We're gonna buy one now, aren't we?
With our new money.
This is where I'm curious. How are you guys going to move all
We
that
can
currency?
afford one.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it's platinum, so
It's true.
it's not that much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, another 200 gold apiece is whatever.
Hopes and dreams.
Hopes and
Hopes and
dreams.
So yeah, they will put that in their pack. They'll take they have clothes from before, so they're gonna either try to fix the bindings that were around them, and if that doesn't work, they're gonna rip cloth and wrap it around the maps to hold them together and tie it.
Wrap them up in bedrolls.
So
And then they're. Go
I
ahead.
will say, as far as the coin, yes, you guys can have those pockets, but unless you guys can think of a clever way to move it without having it jingle, you guys would have disadvantage on stealth checks because of the constant jingling of coin purses.
Well, I can just cast silence.
Welcome
on
to
it
my life.
if
That
you
works.
want.
If you want to just cast silence, that works whenever you guys are out in a spot that would threaten sound. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
that works.
100% I can do that. And
Problem
then
solved.
they're going to attempt to move through some of the kata that the maester taught them to practice controlling their plague,
Okay.
and just use that to meditate while Treya sleeps and while everyone else is sleeping until they get so tired that they can't not do that.
Okay. As you start to meditate and you start to focus on the training that you were given, just roll me a d20.
And I will do that, and then I have one other thing I want to do while I'm doing that.
Okay.
Since everyone's asleep, I can call my boss. My d20 was a 19.
Okay. And so before we get that, what did you want to do? Call your.
Before, I want to use the ring.
Okay.
I want to call the council, not V.
Got it. Okay. So you. I gotta remember her name. Give me 1 second. I gotta pull up her.
I don't
name.
even know if I know it.
Oh, that's right. I never actually told it to you. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'm just doing it meditatively while I activate the ring. Did you know that there is a white dragon on Alkadai? Ancient. And I killed it. Did you know that besides Everent, there are Nelithirian forces and guild forces vying for control of the island? Interesting power struggle. What would you like to see done? And is there anything further?
Interesting developments. Congratulations on the dragon. I was quite aware of the current power struggle on Alkadai. The current status of what I would like to do. I'm going to pause something. From me to you, you haven't talked to her directly in a little while, so you haven't told her that you are no longer being an Everett soldier, correct?
No, I have been really vague about it intentionally. I have called her one time since we've been here because I was trying to feel out. It was after what happened with Dahlia, because I was trying to feel out if they were going to give me instructions re Dahlia.
Gotcha.
So it was just really vague, like, you know, like something about basically something unusual happening with Averant troops in the area. There was some. I think I said I almost got made, but we made it out and looking for other avenues. And then that's all I've really told her, and said that like Troy is with me and safe. And then she just said like nothing additional for now. Okay. So basically, Ren knows that the council has to know that Dahlia's not been apprehended and that Gaju failed. But what Ren doesn't know and is trying to find out is if the council all know that Gaju is traveling with Ren and or Dahlia, because they don't know what the council does and doesn't know about their current party situation.
Gotcha.
So they don't know if they're going to get assigned to take Dahlia or not, and they've been trying to feel that situation out. Like, is the council all working together on whatever this is?
Gotcha. Okay.
Or was it just that one person? So they're just playing along. They're playing good right now. They're not planning on doing anything until they are basically forced to move. And since V now has their back about it, they're feeling pretty confident that they can just play it out for now.
So she continues to say, with the struggles in Averant, it would be prudent for you to leave Alkadai immediately.
Well, that would be complicated. I am, as I said, to the north in Lair of a Dragon. I could move toward that, but where would I go?
She responds back, do what you need to do to get done. But from this point further, do not trust anybody within the Heartwind.
Is there something I need to know? It would have to be pretty convincing, considering you know our mutual friend.
Our mutual friend is just your friend at this point.
Interesting. I had not been informed.
This has just been settled within the past 24. You no longer have faith.
Has she done something to offend you?
She has lost my belief in her willpower.
And does that have something to do with the entourage that my little bird spotted in the grounds of the Heartwind Guild?
If you are what I think you were implying, there are several other envoys for several other of my council members that are making plays. But to put you at comfort, none of them are a council member. They are much like you. spies and warriors for one of us. But I do not know what they're doing, and that puts me at unease. Raildrill tells me that none of them have arrived. I know that to be a lie. So,
That I can confirm to you, they have certainly arrived. As I have said.
currently, the power struggle between the three is not useful for me. But with the loss of faith in her, and not to put stress on you, but a loss of 3 other agents in the past 3 days, it's best that I get you out of there as quickly as possible.
You lost 3 agents on Alkadai in 3 days.
Not in Alkadai.
Can I ask you a genuine question?
I will try to give you a genuine answer.
If you have ceased supporting the effort that helps maintain the status of the Soaring Flame, and you have ceased supporting Hotwind and their joint efforts to end the war, what exactly is it that you're offering me in this relation that continues to ensure my mutual cooperation?
Give me a persuasion check.
Got it. 16.
16. The loss of favor is not with the Heartwind Guild itself. It is with their commander. With her hiding things from me while I am paying for her support is not very... It's not very inviting as far as future prospects. But I still want Soaring Flame, Heartwind, to prosper. I still want their land to be brought back to them. But developments have been had in the past 4 days that are very disturbing and discomforting. And this information intersects with what she is hiding from me. We have discovered that what we assume, that I assume, is the Aberrant Kingdom has been aggressively and vaguely been using what they have obtained from your friends and experimenting on their own, abducting people like yourself with plague traits.
Yes.
And experimenting on them and turn them into weapons. We have found locations where they're doing this, and the commander has denied it when one is right under her nose.
When who is right under her nose?
There is a we'll call them nests. It is what they seem to be and what they seem to do. In the northern area of Alkadai, there seems to be one of these, hidden within the Nelitharian borders. A spot where the Aberrant is experimenting, or at least started experimenting, on many who have survived the plague's attack but are still succumbed to its effects. We believe this is the reason why Aberrant is trying to push so aggressively north and lost any reason to care about what is south. I asked Raildrill to decide to form a team to deal with this And she said that she knew none of that information. All this information was brought to the council, and if many of their envoys are there, therefore she is aware of the situation, and she has blatantly lied to me. I will not have this. I will still support her cause, but I will distance myself with information.
So you think that she's aware of a facility and acting as if she does not know about it?
Or is being persuaded to leave it alone?
Well, I can assure you she did not speak of it to me, and you would think if she would tell anyone that it would be myself.
Well, I cannot speak for her, and I cannot speak on your behalf. I do not have the misfortunes that you do. But maybe it is because of the differences and the fact that is your kind that is being abducted is why she did not tell you.
And should I return or encounter them again, is there someone within her ranks who you trust that I may report to?
I'll be honest, I have not spoke to any of her ranks other than you and her. Therefore, I do not have... Okay, insight check.
Oh, really good. 23.
Yeah, she is being supremely genuine. Whether it's just her being hoity-toity, oh no, we lost somebody.
No, we joined somebody.
We gained a person.
We gained
That's
a person.
Adalia.
Oh
Yay!
god, hang on.
Guess who didn't have the... Guess who... I don't know. My internet worked. And I
Woo!
didn't have anything else to
Figured
do
you were
today,
still
so I was like-
driving. Hang on, let me fix the layout. Hang on a second.
Sorry, I was like, you know what? I'll just show up and see what happens. Yeah.
I'll give you 1 second, everyone.
We got money. You have 200 gold and 95 platinum.
I'm
And some
slightly
diamonds.
less broke. Wait, diamonds?
He is.
Oh, I'm definitely not broke anymore. Well, I wasn't broke to begin with. Maybe.
Give me 1 second. If you all want to discuss amongst yourself, well, I guess technically, I guess Ren can't, but yeah, I mean,
If anyone wants to give me a really tiny cliff notes because I
Yeah, go
haven't been
for it.
able to watch, feel free. And give the audience a
There has been a giant lore dump kind of going on here, so
love that for us. Love
I
it.
am going to just share a link to my notes. There you chat.
you guys have retrieved maps that foresee a possible future. Some of them actually tell an exact thing of the future. One of them tells the future that is coming in the next 50 to 100 years.
Love that for us.
It also shows that next 50 years, the absence of 3 gods are ever so apparent, with the replacement of 3 other gods that aren't named shortly afterwards. And a Excalibur-ish kind of weapon was obtained by the group, and it seems to only work by someone who's worthy, and the only 2 people who are able to activate it had to hold it at the same time, which was Dira and Sephinia. Once one of them let go, the power deactivated. But it is a +6 weapon, lots of powers, lots of transporting, lots of things.
Lots of disturbing
the
vision, thank you
future.
very much.
Love it.
The second that
away
we were
from
both
bright
holding
lights.
it, we got a disturbing vision about a future battle with a bright light that comes down in the middle of the Trinity War, and everybody suddenly knelt to it, or 90% of everybody suddenly knelt to it.
That's not
We have
ominous
no idea
whatsoever.
Not at all.
Nothing bad
We
will
were not
ever
at all
happen.
disturbed by it. And then there was the chest that the maps were in that Ren found a secret compartment in, and then as they went to close it, the trap finally went off and put everyone but Ren and Treya to sleep because their house.
Okay, to be fair, Ren did not trigger this trap. Apollo opened the box with the maps in it, and that started the slow motion release of this trap. Ren just figured out that there was a trap.
I was taking notes about the information. I lost track of the details. I apologize. Apollo set off the trap.
Thank you very much. Ren just figured out that there was one.
Right now.
Your roguely honor, I am sorry, has been besmirched, and I apologize.
Your roguely honor.
I refuse for my investigation checks to be besmirched. Because rogues check for traps before they open magical chests. Thank you very much.
I'm surprised Ball will just be like, fireball? Question mark?
So you're asleep currently because everyone was affected by magical sleep except for Treya and myself because we are resistant to.
And Treya decided to just go to sleep because Treya's tired.
Oh, and we are getting our long rest because we are not going to be having anything else attack us before we have done so. So go ahead and do your long rest.
What kind of sleep spell thing is it?
It's not a sleep spell, it's a sleep effect. So you would have been put to sleep.
And it's not bad, you're just sleeping. And Ren and Treya...
Which we all
you
kind of
guys
need anyway.
You're asleep the rest of the session.
Yeah.
Great.
No, so right now, while Ren's the only one awake, they are contacting their person in the council and checking in on the tea. And it's not sounding great right now.
Apparently doesn't trust me anymore.
Snoop.
So I just completely forgot what I asked them, but my insight check was pretty solid.
My bad. I didn't mean to totally derail.
No, it completely fucking derailed me. I don't even remember what I asked. They said that they didn't know something.
Oh, they do not. Okay, so when you got the check, they are being completely honest and genuine. They don't really know anybody else within the actual command structure.
There's nobody. Ren is trying to suss out if the council member is trying to make a coup happen here, and that's why they asked that question. And it sounds like current moment, this council member doesn't have someone planted to
We're all
do
fixed.
That. Okay, and then after they respond that, Ren is also going to say, one last thing that I need before I leave this island, as it sounds like my options are thinning out considerably. Do you know anything about the... Of course, I am good at discovering things that are not meant to be discovered, and it sounded like someone within higher up in New Avern's military was assigned by a council member to participate in some sort of underhanded dealings. Now, I was not assigned these underhanded dealings, so it was clearly not you. Do you know anything about this?
Unfortunately, I am aware, but I will be extremely honest with you. I had nothing to do with it. I was not told about it till after the after the specific motions were set.
Well, they sound like they failed.
But they will try again.
Are they asking you for help in this endeavor now, or can I focus on my own work?
They are not asking for my help. That is why I found out afterwards. I think they know of my influence within your team, and therefore are keeping me out of the loop of what they're doing. But...
So it is targeting my team then?
They're targeting anybody that is, let's say, unusual, has any kind of specific traits that benefit them. You, your drow friend, each have a specific uniqueness that fancies them.
Did you say me?
You are one of the last ones remaining of your hometown, are you not?
Yes, and am I assuming the only reason I haven't been targeted is because of you?
I've tried to do my best.
Well, my thanks.
Don't thank me yet. I can only do so much, and if they keep me out of the loop, which is not unusual, us council members, compared to the name that we were given, we don't always work as a, council. many of us decide to do our own things, and only when we decide to work together is when something more of a calamity effect is in play. So, if they decide to target you, they're going to leave me out of the loop, and I wouldn't blame them. If I decide to attack one of their agents, I wouldn't tell them about it either. But I can at least tell you who is targeting you.
You can. Do tell.
Her name is Tula. T-L-U-L-A. Tula.
Have I heard this name before?
No.
T-L-U-L-A?
Correct.
Is this a council member?
Yes, she is our Drow council member. And she is...
And is she the one that's targeting my drow?
She'd be the one that is specifically targeting your friend, yes.
And then let me check. I swore that I knew the name of that person, and it wasn't that. Like the one... Someone refresh my memory. The seal that we found, did I know who it was? I know that
I think you had an idea of who it was, but you couldn't confirm.
Hang on.
I think
Let
there
me
was not
find
a
it.
name.
There was. I don't remember when though. And I have a lot of notes.
This would have been like 4 sessions ago when you would have researched, because it would... Oh, no, 5 sessions ago, because it would have been 2 before
The session,
you guys... Yeah.
the session after we got... You got riddled with arrows. So...
And
Lord
Apollo
Delacroix.
decided to murder everyone.
Lord Delacroix
Yeah.
is the name.
Yes. So you were
Yes,
told that the
Azamar.
Azamar Delacroix was part of this. Delacroix is the person who put the seal on the note to assassinate or retrieve Dahlia.
Okay.
So
what you're telling me is more than one council member.
I'm only aware of Tula that is currently trying to find you. If there's another one that's trying to look for you, that is not good.
Well, I will give you a heads up that a certain Azamar is also participating in this chase. Be wary.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you an option. This is becoming complicated even for me. You can continue what you're doing with my support. Stay in Heartwind, aware of these facts, and hope for the best. I can't guarantee your safety, but I'll do what I can. Clearly, I can't trust in their help. Or make your way over due north, take care of this hive, this nest, and in doing so, I'll give you the location of where you can find me. And we can reconvene there. I will give you my trust, my faith, knowing that there can be no lies between us, making an easier path on both sides. You already have trust issues, and I'm already gaining trust issues. So, take care of this for me. Make sure that I know that your team is fully committing to leaving Aberrant. I don't care what you tell Drill, but just don't tell her, if you're going to do this, that you're coming to me.
So you want me to leave the Aberrant military completely?
I prefer that you all leave the Aberrant military completely, but yes, you especially.
And what of the agent that your tiefling friend has had on this case?
That is up to him. I do not know of their specific deal, but your friend and Severus, their deal is theirs. And if he wants to honor it, he can keep doing that. As long as it's not impact anything that we are doing.
And if he doesn't want to honor it?
Then he is more welcome here.
Well, I am already headed in that direction. So I may be able to both gain information on Nelith's current plans and or occupation of the North, and also look into this curious station that you speak of, since they sound similarly located. Also, I have heard rumors of perhaps other factions at play, and I will check and let you know.
Very well. One last thing.
Yes.
It is sort of a trust between us. Whether or not you choose to complete this task or not is a give and take. I'll give you one other piece of information. There's another there on Elkadai. He's not necessarily an agent of mine, but say he is a partner. Helps me from time to time.
Who is this person?
I'll keep that to myself for right now. Just know that there is someone else there. They know of you. They know not to harm you. Even before this conversation.
Am I allowed to know what area they're in?
I don't know where they're at now, but they're another Averant soldier.
And they are on this island.
I made sure they stayed there against their better judgment. I wanted to make sure that they stuck to, but even they are having their issues with Averant. They are having a hard time stomaching staying there another day. So.
It's not Soma, is it?
It is.
Very interesting.
Our partnership has gone for quite a while, but not forever. He did start there, and he has been with them for quite some time. But with his growing hatred for them, it has become ever apparent that he needed someone to help him. I assist him, and he assists me, and it's a little bit of a tit-for-tat situation.
Well, I don't know if he's reported in, but he's already reached out to us.
I was not aware, but that is fine. May I ask what he asked of you to do?
I personally did not speak to him. One of the group did, and it sounded as if he was looking for something, but we were being hunted, so it was a short conversation. But I'm sure there is room for more conversation, that is.
More conversation will most likely be had.
Well, if he is working with you, then I welcome it instead of fearing him, as we were inclined to do under those circumstances. I will look for him.
Very well.
But I will look for this center first, and I will let you know what I find. Do you want it destroyed?
I want it all destroyed.
What about the survivors?
If they can be saved, save them. If they are lost, put yourself in their shoes.
That I can certainly do.
Very well. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that Alasa's blessing goes with you. Contact me again a day after it is done, not before.
You have my word. You got the spell, and they fucking like sit down in the snow. Oh.
Lord Dumb session!
They just pace. Shit. Well, Gaju and I have a lot to talk about whenever we fucking find him. They just try to chill the fuck out and go back through their exercises.
Okay.
Until other people wake up.
Okay. We're gonna switch to Gaju. So, hi. So.
Hey.
You can choose. Now, mostly, unless you want to have a consistent conversation with Anima, it's mostly just going to be day-by-day progressing, unless you want to do anything else. We can choose to keep approaching every day the way it is, or we can just kind of fast forward ahead until you get to them.
Whatever works. I mean,
Is there anything you want to talk to Anima about?
I'm kind of out of ideas. So unless he starts bringing up stuff, Gaju's probably going to be staying silent.
Okay, so
and
mostly
just keeping weather eye out.
Mostly, like, nothing happens when you guys are walking. It's extremely boring. Every day goes on without much talking. Maybe there's the awkward silence that leads into the worst break-in advice conversation in existence. But it's mostly the talking when you both decide to get ready for the long rest, but maybe not sleep yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the, I'm not ready to sleep, let's at least talk a little bit so we're not super weird with each other kind of conversations. And he brings up like a few things here or there throughout the days, trying to find out some information about you. Whether or not you want to give it up is completely up to you. He kind of starts remembering some things, kind of says that he remembers that he's part of a family of nobles, names the Kyans. And that he knows that whatever world that he's in right now is not his. That he knows that whatever world that he's from no longer exists. He gives you a few other pieces of information. He explains what an Eidolon is. He explains that in the last half year before his planet was getting destroyed, there was a sort of calamity that was going to happen, and he doesn't remember necessarily what the calamity was. But with preparation, his family, not of blood but of friendship, decided to make a pact to absorb the energy of their realm, to each give themselves a sort of power, to try to save the realm from its destruction. Each of them, absorbing the power, essentially made themselves into their version of gods. He essentially explained that in their world, they didn't have gods. They just had people with powers. Them being the first gods, calling themselves Eidolons. Representation specifically of certain kind of magics. But in that time, they were very broad-ranged. One representing fire, in his case, death. Another representing chaos, wind, water, earth, aka nature, etc., etc. He does imply that he also does dictate life itself, but due to fate being twisted, he can't really manipulate life as well as he can manipulate death. And that everything they did was dictated by what they all considered as their older brother, as most of them were roughly the same age, with the exception of one of them that he does not remember his name of, that is considerably, he says, at least 10 years older than him and the rest of his group. He remembers that they did have a dispute. Most of the group wanted to still try to protect the world, where a couple of them decided at the last minute when they got the power that they'd rather just say, we have this power, let's create a new world, and say fuck this world, and create a dispute. He doesn't remember anything after that. He assumes that whatever happened afterwards, the Calamity decided to reset the world and create your world. But he doesn't know how he still exists. He doesn't know if they maybe escaped. He doesn't know if their powers created your world, or if, unfortunately, the people that were fighting it decided to now be the rulers of your world. He doesn't know.
Okay.
And that would have been spread out throughout several days. This wouldn't have been just like a giant unload on you, but this would have been through several days of time. You can retort however you want, depending on the certain thing you want to say to. This way we don't have to repeat the process, walk, talk, kind of thing like that. But yes, he between the several days, because it would take you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days to essentially catch up to them, to essentially the point where they dropped. So he essentially went over that through 7 days worth of time. During that time, too, you've also discovered two things. One, maybe the Acrids are dead, but you did not find any Acrids during that 7 days worth of time. Two is, with the occasional sounds in there, maybe they're, and to rephrase, you don't know if they're dead. You assume occasionally there's sounds that, like, okay, hang on 1 second, our stream. Okay. Sorry for a second, guys. We just had a random disconnection, reconnection, so hopefully everything's still good. Let me just make sure that everything is copacetic. Looks like we're getting a bad connection for the stream right now.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second before we continue. Let's see.